The right question is not, am I worthy of this goal? It's the opposite. Is this goal worthy of me? Because you're probably setting far too low of a sight, far too low of aspiration, far too low of a goal of impact, contribution, and I would challenge everybody to rethink their whole business reality.
Shakir Hussein, nicknamed as the Backpack Millionaire, has been hailed as one of the most sought-after internet marketing.
Jay Abraham, a marketing legend, mentor to mentors, and the highest paid marketing consultant in the world.
Hey everyone, welcome. I'm so excited because today I have the man, the living legend, Mr. Jay Abraham.
No, you didn't hear me. I said it's Jay Abraham, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
I'm honored.
I'm honored to have you back.
Jay, thank you so much for coming on this show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. It's a privilege and a pleasure always to contribute to people that are trying to help entrepreneurs be better and grow.
Absolutely. And so I want to first start off with huge gratitude and just a fanboy moment, which I hope you don't mind, because I did ask your team and they said, Jay doesn't really like just to have stimulating conversations. He really likes it when his students take action and get results. And
that's true.
Probably about 10 years ago when I was kind of coming up and I was, pretty broke, learning about internet marketing, I came across a guy called Joe Polish and Dean Jackson. And I started listening to your interviews. And I remember going to a Tony Robbins event and he had given this audio out, which basically you talked about how to tap into other people's customer list, doing joint ventures. And I want to say, you've had a huge impact on my life. I was able to go from zero to more than $30 million in sales for my own business.
That's wonderful.
Before the age of 30. And I'm just super excited to be here. So I just want to say thank you. I did meet you briefly at Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership when I was there in Amsterdam.
When was this? 2 years ago?
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Wow. Are you still a plat?
No, I'm not. Not anymore. Probably get into it maybe next year or so. But
yeah, they come in and out. It's good. Yeah, I just got done. Interestingly, I was in Palm Beach 3 weeks ago because Tony did the virtual version of that this year at that studio he built.
Yeah.
The big, huge round one. It was very interesting. And he and I we did virtual to all the Plats and the Lions. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited, Jay. I have a bunch of questions, so I'm going to get straight into it.
Ask away.
One of the things that's been very fascinating to watch and to see and to experience and learn from yourself is this just crazy ability to dissect a problem in so many different ways. How does someone develop that thinking? Where does that thinking come from?
It's not as hard as you think, Shaq, but it requires a commitment. I became an accidental master at that by being involved in a multitude of different industries when I was young. And I made a realization after about 10 totally different industries I was involved in that people in one industry do not have a clue how people in another think, how they market, their strategies, their business models, their access vehicles. And I realized after 10 of them that you could literally take elements from other industries, combine them together into hybrids, apply them into industries where everyone else in the industry does the same thing the same way, to possess what I will call hopeless curiosity in terms of I want to know everything I can about everything I can from everyone I can meet. I do not discriminate. I want to see not just how your business or industry operates, how you market, what your philosophies, your strategy, your business model. I want to know your belief systems, what your realities are, because I want to understand not just marketing methodology, but how to understand the differences in human beings, because you are trying to own mind share ethically of human beings. You're trying to motivate human beings who are your team members. You're trying to attract entrepreneurial human beings who are your promotional partners. You're trying to get human beings who are your support teams, your agencies, your marketing advisors and experts to give more of their ability to you than anyone else. So the more you understand all the different dynamics that could come together to create superior impact, advantage, connectivity. So I just try always to learn everything I can. I have, for example, a team that goes to LinkedIn every week and contacts interesting people from all kinds of different environments just so I can talk to them. No agenda, because I want to learn what they know that I don't. And I want to share what I know that they don't and do an exchange. But I'm just constantly doing that. People can do that. Now, that's what I do. How they can do it, to answer your question, is commit themselves every day or at least every week to travel outside their comfort zone. Easiest way to start, given COVID and everything, is to go online and visit websites, platforms, discussion groups, study what's going on in any industry, any field, any topic other than what you usually study. And as you're experiencing that, ask yourself, what is there about what I am experiencing that is foreign normally to me that I could adapt or adopt to my business or my career or my life? And after you start doing that on an ongoing basis, you start opening up. The next thing is to master Socratic interviewing, the ability to ask others to open up about themselves and be tremendously interested in them and ask meaningful questions. And if you do that with constant focus on improving, you'll become able, in the course of a half-hour discussion or an hour, to distill ethically the key elements of what drives their business if they're an entrepreneur, what drives their job category if they're an employee, what drives their mindset if they're have any kind of hobby or ideological interest outside of it. And as you keep adding that, your subconscious compounds. I can go on and on, but there's a quick answer.
I appreciate that very much. In terms of, and I have a whole list, so I'm gonna just
go for it.
I'm gonna go through. In terms of like right now, so for example, thinking in a way that you are not just thinking one way, but going outside different industries, getting different perspectives, then leading into, let's just say, an individual's business. Like right now, like before this interview, you asked me about this award, right? And I was explaining the award was for, basically making a bunch of sales and in this industry, which involves, for example, sales funnels. So now this is like a new thing, but it's been around for decades and decades. It's just the new term is sales funnels or sales processes or whatever. And so now it's becoming,
yes,
everyone is getting into it. And so when everyone gets into an industry, obviously because there's a lot of money, right? Like in an industry, like for example, that I'm in, there's a lot of money in this whole concept of sales funnels. There are people that charge $10,000 to $100,000 to $250K to build these sales processes out. And as it's becoming bigger and bigger, there's another company coming, it's becoming a red bloody ocean. If you were to advise someone to becoming an authority in a marketplace like this, what would your advice be?
Well, I mean, the biggest problem with most authorities is they don't really try to appreciate their client's client. The more you understand your client's client, because you're the advocate of the client's client, not the client. I mean, you may be the one paying me, but you're really you're paying me to be masterful in being able to understand the mind, the hopes, the dreams, desires, motives, motivations of your target client. I think most professionals or most service people do not really try to understand masterfully the client's client. I never saw my role being the client, although they paid me ultimately. I saw my role being the advocate of the client's client. And I think it's a very big shift. Look at it differently. You understand, I learned very early in my life, your goal in interaction with anyone and your goal in assessing anything you're going to do with any human being is to try to examine, evaluate, understand, appreciate, acknowledge, respect, and recognize and play back that you do all those things to people for whatever their realities are, and understand that there are many, many realities going on right now. Many people who do funnels, many people who do info marketing, they default to hyperbolic copy that I would call it's universal. It's the same buzzwords and the same bullets and the same hype and the same, you could spin around and pick any one and it says the same. If you want to own mind share and not be manipulative, you will appreciate and respect the human beings, on the individual human beings on the other end of the communication, and you'll work backwards and you will gain what we call a love for that person, a respect and an admiration for what that person is trying to either get closer to or away from, to achieve, and why. And you won't just look at superficiality. You'll look at him and her as a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, somebody who's got hopes and dreams, and you'll appreciate them in the fullest sense for their value as a human being. And I don't think most people do that. It may be a little abstract and a little sophisticated, what I just said, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, I remember going to a Tony's event. I've been a fan of Tony and Rich Sheffron for many years. And Tony said the same thing that you taught him. He said he was in love with his products and he would be basically like, he'd be chasing the next product. And he said, it was until I met a man called Jay Abraham that said, fall in love with the people and my market versus the products. So thanks a lot for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that was
it's a very powerful distinction. If you, as an entrepreneur watching, listening, however you disseminate this, if you can grasp the magnitude of that distinction and you can harness it authentically, meaning you can't achieve greatness by faking it. It has to be a natural part of your being. But if you can really do this, you'll be able, whoever creates the funnels, you'll be either able to guide them or craft them yourself from an appreciation, a genuine appreciation of that target audience, not just the sense that they're a source of making money, but you'll see them much more humanistic. You'll see them as somebody that you have the chance to be a catalyst to transform a stage or a progression or a phase of their life. And you'll look at your role with much more responsibility and sincerity, and you'll take it very seriously.
Yeah, which leads me to this concept that you've always taught, which is strategy of preeminence.
Yes, sir.
Could you briefly describe that and why it's critical for business owners to implement that?
I will be happy to, but I need to disclaim that to do it justice takes about 3 hours. But the essence of the strategy preeminence is really simple. You want to be seen, no matter what you do in business or career, as the most trusted advisor, the only viable choice, the go-to source for whatever it is you stand for as a company, as an individual, as an employee. In order to do that, you have to be willing to have a very well-reasoned perspective that you share with the other side, those people you interact with, that is meaningful and different than what they hear from everyone else, but it has to be authentic. You have to be able to put into words at a better, higher, clear, crisper, more resonant level what people are feeling that they've never expressed before, so that you penetrate to their subconscious, and their subconscious actually says to them, this man or woman or company or product understands me and serves me better and satisfies what I'm trying to get to, and understands how to explain it in ways I didn't even know myself. Next, you have to be able to not allow people, you have to care enough about their well-being that you don't let them buy less than they should or more than they should, in less quantity, quality, combinations, or frequency than they should, not because you will be the loser, but because they will be not getting the fullest outcome, or they will get too much outcome and don't need it. Conversely, if you believe that your company provides greater performance, protection, profitability, support, you have to go out of your way not to let them buy from your competitors, or not buy nothing because it's going to disserve them, not because the competitors is a shit. Next, you can't, you have to do what you said. You stop focusing on, excuse me, somebody's upstairs and just dropped something. I'm in a basement, a wine cellar. You cannot fall in love with your industry or just making money or being the fastest growing company. You fall in love with those people you serve, your clients. And if you want to be the most trusted advisor, you refer to people you deal with as clients, not as customers. And the reason is, if you look at Webster's dictionary definition of a customer, I guess you would use Webster's or maybe Oxford, it's somebody who's buying, a customer is somebody who buys a commodity and a service. If you call me a customer, what you're saying between the lines is that you are no better than everybody else. There's nothing distinctive, nothing superior, no benefit other than just maybe convenience or the luck of the draw to deal from you. A client is someone who's under the care, the protection, the well-being of another. It's got a fiduciary role. Next, you want to communicate in terms that use a lot of metaphors, similes, case studies, analogies, because that's how the mind easiest relates. Anybody watching who has been raised with any religion, doesn't matter your religious beliefs, parables are the way they make their point, storytelling. And storytelling is much more powerful than declarative statements. It's much more powerful than graphs and charts. It's just the most powerful way to do it. Also, you have to be on a crusade or a mission and see yourself as a champion, an advocate of a market that is being disserved, a market that you can add unique value to, a market that has gaps that you can fill. Those are the basic. I can go on and on.
Yeah, which leads me to this, because you did a live a little while ago with Roland Frazier, and you were talking about, especially when COVID hit, right? You were basically talking about the power of pivoting and basically profiting, because there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Because you have seen so many different recessions, what is your advice to someone who is, who's an entrepreneur, like even to me, basically?
Yes.
That you would say, hey, you know what? I've got decades of expertise and experience when it comes to recession. These are the things that you should avoid. These are the things that you should focus on. What would be like your 1 to 3 things that you would advise on?
Well, there's about 6 or 7 that I've been talking about in other interviews, so I ought to share them with you, so that if you have entrepreneurs that are looking for greater windows of opportunity, they can see what some of them are. First of all, if you have a business, solidify your relationship with all your client base. Second is expand your product service offering to products and services people buy, before, during, after, even instead of buying your product, because it could double or triple the profitability you get out of them. Third is if you have if you sell one or limited products and people are inactive buyers and you have trust and credibility with them, figure other ways you can monetize the relationship by introducing them to other product services they logically buy because of what you know about them that you can recommend and profit from. Next is there's 5 activities that are very huge opportunities that are open right now and are closing relatively rapidly, but they tie directly to what's happening with COVID. And in each one of these opportunities, you can actually be a benefactor. You're not taking advantage. The first one is that there's more companies, entities, organizations, media sources, and associations out there and influencers who are open today to doing deals, partnerships, joint ventures, endorsements, co-branding, letting you sell your product through them, selling their product through you, things that wouldn't have been possible before this because everyone is hurting financially and everyone's unsure and everyone's looking for greater cash flow and advantage. So you can make deals that you could never do and do partnerships you could never do and joint ventures. Second, there are many, many companies that are very, very, very basically surviving, and they're probably going to go under unless saviors like you, meaning your audience, identifies them and realizes that if you acquire either the business or easier, just the assets, the databases, the marketing pieces, the intellectual property, the URL, the phone number, to have salespeople or affiliates, and you consolidate it into your business where you already have overhead and infrastructure, you can eliminate a lot of the overhead that other company is stuck with, and you could pay the owner of it a share of the profits you're able to create by reducing overhead, and they can make more from doing nothing by letting you take over either their business or their assets. And that's a big opportunity, and you're also doing well because a lot of these people are going to lose everything if somebody doesn't intervene. The next area, it's really cool, and most people don't understand this. There have been an enormous number of people who have been put out of jobs. Some have been hired back, but a lot of them are still unemployed. There's 2 categories, low skilled and super skilled. Low skilled, I have great empathy for. They're very wonderful men, women, husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, and they're struggling. And I feel great compassion, but they're not relevant to what I'm about to say. The super skilled are people that before they lost their job, they had roles where they were interacting with key decision makers all over different industries, companies, roles, CEOs, entrepreneurs, professionals, CTOs, CIOs, all these things, CMOs. And they lost their job because of one of 3 things. Either the company consolidated roles and they were duplicated, or extraneous, or younger, or less seniority. Their role was no longer doable at that level because the role became either extraneous or the market dried up a bit. And worse is they were earning too much, and the employer wanted to get them off of payroll. Most people don't understand that these people can be identified on LinkedIn and other sources like that. They're sitting around dying a dismal financial death because they were used to making 6 figures, and now they're on unemployment and making pittance and worried that they'll get job offers, if they get any, that'll be way under what they're used to, and they're running out of money, or they already run out, and they may lose their houses, and it's a very, very horrible time. But if you can find them and convince them of the value of your company, your product, your service, you can get them to introduce you to some of these relationships that you could never gain access to in a million years on your own, and get instant access and just give these people shares of any revenue that comes, and you could just have a windfall, super colossal grand slam home run. The next area of opportunity are salespeople. I mean, amongst the 30 or so million people in the United States that are out of work still, I think probably 10, 15% are salespeople, people who lost their job because the company consolidated and didn't need all those salespeople, or whatever they were selling became less in demand. And these people are used to making a lot of money on performance, and they're sitting around. You can find them again and they can find specialized ones or generalized ones. You can find them on LinkedIn, and you can do three things with them. You can have them basically work for you to find those other three categories I just talked about. Or you can have them do deals for you on commission, or if they earn the right through performance, hire them. So you got all those, and they can give you enormous ability that you don't normally have access to, and you can move them to variable, to performance, to commission, to revenue share, profit share, so much a deal. The next thing and the last is what I call option trading, Shaq, but it's not securities, it's getting the rights to access or assets and then flipping them. The easiest way to explain it is me telling you two simple stories. 30 years ago, a colleague of mine that I had worked with in Santa Barbara, California, quit his management job and moved to Los Angeles. He wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he had a very brilliant strategy. He looked for something he could get control of and then flip to somebody else to do all the heavy lifting and the work. What he found was, you probably know there what our Rose Bowl is, the football game. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Every year in the United States, January sometime, there's a big football game between the winning college teams, and it's called the Rose Bowl because there is a stadium in Los Angeles called the Rose Bowl. It's where this football game is held, and it also is where our university, UCLA, plays their football games, and that stadium is also used occasionally for concerts. But other than that, it's not used at all. This man that wanted to find a deal identified the Rose Bowl as being underutilized. It is owned by the county of Los Angeles. He went there and negotiated with them the rights to use it on the days it was not being utilized for football or concerts and do flea markets. He worked out a deal where he paid a royalty, a percentage of the revenue he would bring in, and it was renewable if he gave them a certain amount of revenue and had no real conduct problems over a contract period. He did not know anything about flea markets, but with that agreement in hand, and the agreement had the right for him to bring in partners, he found the number one company in the country who managed flea markets. He went to them, he took his agreement, he got them to pay him $500,000 up front plus a share of all the revenue, and he made millions of dollars for doing nothing but seeing and flipping the opportunity. And there's tons of those out there. Brands, distribution, sales forces, being a back end for somebody, using somebody's distributors, retailers differently, all kinds of things you can do. I mean, I have a whole program on it. We used to teach it all over the world, but those are a couple of ideas, and there's lots more, but that should get your people thinking.
That is, for a few more questions. One is, when you look at a business that's doing, say, 7 to 8 figures, $1 million to $10 million, and they go ambitions and hopes to get to $100 million. What would you say are the critical drivers that people miss? Is it the team? Is it cash?
Yeah.
Is it strategy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you followed my work, and not that you have to, but if you follow my work, anybody, I have so many different distinctions, but I spent a lot of time trying to identify high leverage. But my whole point is everything in our lives are the result of levers that we depend on: screwdrivers, pop top caps, window cranks, shovels, brooms, car jacks, but we don't understand how to use levers in our business. Everything is a lever. And I've done lots of different categories of levers. I've just never called it that. But there's 9 levers that we call the 9 drivers of exponential growth. And we also have 15 or 16 pivot points. But the 9 drivers are elements in a business that as you shift them, your performance multiplies potentially geometrically for each one, but your risk and your investment is almost it's almost zero additional. Change your strategy, you change your results. Change your business model, you change your results. Change your marketing, and there's 8 or 10 ways you can do that. You change your results. You change how you use capital, human capital, intellectual capital, and change your results. You change how you monetize relationships, internal, external. You change your results. You change how you use processes, procedures. You change your results, and methodology, and well, there's another word and I can't think of it, but I got about 9 of these. But most people don't really think about that. What I would do if I were working with a client privately, Shaq, and this might help, I divide the relationship into 2 very unique activities. One is what we call maximizing, and then multiplying. So any business that is profitable right now is doing something that is working. It is not likely that they are optimizing whatever they're doing, because most people don't even know how many higher, better performing ways they can take, all kinds of elements in a business on the revenue side. But let's assume they're making money. So the first thing I do is look at all the things that are going on within that business. Ads, sales approach, lead generation, conversion, how they monetize, what they do at the sale, before the sale, after the sale, with people that don't buy right now, how they use their marketing, their advertising, their conversion, their lead generating approach. I look at quantification, how different kinds of buyers, sources of buyers, product service type buyers convert, and what their lifetime differential values are. Then when I get all that down, I start systematically making everything they're doing and everyone they're currently doing it with and how they are doing it and where they are doing it perform better, because that costs no more money. It just gets a lot more financial yield. So it brings in windfall profits that are not critical to the operation of the business, because theoretically the business has been profitable without this improvement, without this enhancement. So you can take all that newfound money and use it to fund what we call the multiplying activities, the new activities, the new marketing fields, the new profit centers, the new markets you penetrate, the new selling approaches you bring, the new products or services you create. And that's a very systematic process. But those are only a few of the things. But I mean, if nobody thinks about that, that's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got me thinking a lot. In terms of, this is like more of a personal question for you. This is something that I got from Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach, right? And he talks about every 5 years or 25 years, you find something that really fascinates and motivates you, that carries you on for the next 10, 25 years. What's the thing that fascinates and motivates you right now?
I have about 3 different categories or answers. One is I'm obsessed with a constant discovery at a more elevated level than I probably was earlier in my life, because I understand a lot more and I'm probably more interested in more complex things. Second, I have lived a life of high contribution, but not really been focused on huge wealth creation, because I was more interested in doing lots of things with lots of different companies. And as I've gotten older, I'm more interested now in building assets that will transcend me. So we're building out a consulting business. We're doing more collaborative work with decent companies where I get a long-term profit participation that gets converted into equity if they ever sell it. Things that are more high upside leveraged, where I can do something once, get paid for it ongoing, where I can leverage my skill set and get a lot more than, I mean, right now we've been very blessed. And this is not being arrogant, but we get $15,000 an hour if I consult, but it's finite. Whereas if I can give you a concept that makes your business perform 40% better, and that's an extra $2 million a year in gross profit, and I get a quarter of it instead of getting, $100,000 for time, I would get $1 million or $500,000 for the value of the concept, and I would keep getting it. So I'm moving a lot to that. I like contribution. If this interaction we're having, this conversation, has the ability to shift the direction and the elevation and the acceleration of qualitative and deserving entrepreneurs' success, it gives me a lot of fulfillment. For 5 years, we didn't even try to capture opt-ins, and we didn't sell anything. We just gave away better resources than anybody else, and I thought that was really a cool thing to do. It turns out I lost $1 million a year doing it, and we didn't sell anything, and my team got mad at me. But I've been a benefactor and a contributor to entrepreneurship all my life. We give away better stuff on our website than most people sell. I only deal, I mean, sort of Robin Hood-y. We don't want to make money from people that can't afford it, so we just give them stuff. And what else? And I like doing good. I think everybody should. There's a belief system that I was introduced to many years ago, and it's quite profound in its simplicity. It's very, very simple, Shaq. Anytime you interact with anybody for any reason, in any way, outside the business, inside the business, on the street, in any kind of social or fraternal or any kind, your job is to make their life better off because you were in it, even if it's for a fleeting moment. If you smile at them, if you listen to them, if you pay attention, if you do something nice with or for them, if you share something, I mean, those little things make a profound difference. And I think a lot of young people have been ill-advised to pursue money for money's sake and not to really appreciate, the humanistic side of our lives, and not appreciate the value of the people they're dealing with, and to see that money should be the reward for creating value for others, not just something that you pursue for pure monetary sake. It should be the byproduct of saying, how can I make meaningful difference, either add value, protect, enrich, entertain, whatever your product, service, company is designed to do. How can I do that in such a way that the value I create is rewarding back to me because enough people appreciate it? And that's sort of what I think most people don't always understand about the purpose of business. You're really here to make a difference in people's lives. And if your product or service and company doesn't do that, you have to either realign yourself, or you're never going to be as successful as you could be if you were focused on being a value creator, a generator of greater advantage for your marketplace.
Wow, deep.
It is deep.
It is very deep.
It might be too deep for a lot of people. I mean, when I speak, if I go to mixed audiences where you have an arc of very serious entrepreneurs and startup, particularly ones that are trying to sell things online, the real ones love this. The little ones who really don't understand, they'll never get to any place great. They think it's boring because they want to know give me a tactic. Tell me the next funnel, or tell me the next launch concept, or tell me the next Facebook ad generation, or tell me how to, how to make YouTube pay off. And they don't understand that that's only a static advantage. The people selling that, and I know a lot of them, and they're fine people, but they're not trying to sell you alone that. They're trying to sell 100,000 or 1,000,000 of you that. So in the beginning, if you get a tactic ahead of everybody, you have a short window of opportunity. But sooner or later, everybody has it. And then at first it becomes a standard everyone has to do just to be, competitive. But then it becomes antiquated, and you got to find a new tactic and a new tactic. And you can never win that way, I don't think. Do you? Most people don't understand integrative, strategic, ongoing, sustaining business building, because they're not looking at it as a business. They're looking at it as an extended promotion that sooner or later will burn out unless they try to understand the real rules of sustaining entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I remember when I first started listening to you, Jay, and it was these audios. They were so old. They were so old, but it was all I could get my hands on. And you didn't have 50 Shades of Jay, or you didn't have the free materials back like 10 years ago. I mean, you did, but it wasn't what I accessed. And one of the things I remember very clearly learning was focusing on principles versus tactics. And there was a guy, I don't know if you know him, called Andre Chaperon. And he talked about, Andre Chaperon created this, he's like one of Rich Sheffrin's friends, but he created this program called Autoresponder Madness, right? Like how to write emails. And he was super influenced by your work. And he talked about this concept of like, most people are chasing tactics, and he called them Frank versus Matt. And Matt was the person that was focused on boring principles. And one of the things I always do now, and I've done for, I'd say for the last 10 years, is I'd rather have boring businesses that are built on long-term principles versus short-term tactics. So that has impacted me a lot.
That's great. No. And thank you for that. You're very impressive, and I'm grateful. Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of years trying to help people transform themselves into true entrepreneurs instead of just short-term income generators. It's a very big difference, and it has to do with creating experiences and value in a different way. And it's a thrill when you can do that and you see somebody grasp it, like yourself and the people you're talking about. It's heartbreaking when people think that a superficial short-term agenda is going to really bring them sustained success, prosperity, or satisfaction and fulfillment, because it can't and it won't.
Yeah. Jay, what do you want your legacy to be, once you've kind of, left the
That's
world?
a great question. Well, I mean, it's interesting. A lot of people don't understand this. I mean, my body of work it's huge. We have probably 30, 40 different seminars we've done. We have tens of thousands of pages of written material. We have, 40 different concepts or principles that I'm known for. But really and truly, none of that is very valuable if you don't keep promoting it. And I don't really do a lot anymore to promote it. I would say that I would hope that people recognize that I have challenged business owners and professionals to be true entrepreneurs in the very literal word, creators of value, making a difference in people's lives, doing something beyond their competition, making their audience better off because they and their product or service and team members were in it, helping their market, but also creating environments for their team members to grow, develop, and prosper. And I'd like to hope that with the rewards that these entrepreneurs receive, the money they make, they don't just buy, and I've been guilty in my earlier stages of not doing what I'm saying. I hope they don't just buy Ferraris and, and big houses and jewelry and stuff. I hope that they invest it meaningfully back in valuable things for themselves, first of all, so that they will have security, but reinvest in their community, reinvest in their marketplace, reinvest in other people they can help. If people like myself take the time to invest in them, you would like to see the same. One of the things I'll tell you, it's one of my laments. We have a great podcast we don't promote. We have an email list that I don't really promote, but every time we give very, very unique resources gratis. And I watch and see how many people re-gift and share it with people. And people are selfish. They don't take the time to help others. They're so self-consumed by and large that they don't give back. And I think that one of my legacies would be that people see that they have a moral responsibility, an obligation, and a privilege to help others be better too, to help others grow more, add more, create more. And I think if I can have left the world with that awareness, it'd be pretty cool.
Wow, that is incredible. Jay, I want to respect your time. And so I want to wrap this up for, if there's like one last thing that you'd want to say to any entrepreneurs who are listening to this, what is that message that you want to give them?
It's a pretty cool message, and it's a quote by someone. And it's one that I used to use all the time, and I stopped, but it's really cool. Once you realize how much more you can get, give, achieve from time, effort, opportunity, capital, market access, interaction, human capital, intellectual capital, you will shift, or you should shift, a gnawing question that torments most people. Most people who are entrepreneurs struggle all the time with a non-verbalized question. The question they struggle with is, am I worthy of this goal? I mean, can I really make $500,000? Can I really keep this information marketing or this service organization or this product or this Amazon sales organization keep growing and growing and paying an income, or get me to where it can be full-time? Can I use it to acquire the lifestyle I want? When you figure out how much more you can achieve from time, effort, opportunity, marketing, markets, the right question is not, am I worthy of this goal? It's the opposite. Is this goal worthy of me? Because you're probably setting far too low of a sight, far too low of aspiration, far too low of a goal of impact, contribution. And I would challenge everybody to rethink their whole business reality.
I appreciate that very much. Jay, this is for entrepreneurs, but it felt like this conversation is just for me. So
Thank you.
I super appreciate it. God bless you. I want to say, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and leave us a comment below. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you go to abraham.com. That's the best resource, right? Abraham.com.
Yeah.
Make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the list. There's tons and tons and tons of free information that Jay gives with his team. So make sure you go to abraham.com and you register, you sign up. If you're listening to this on the podcast, leave us a review on the podcast. Again, make sure you go to abraham.com and sign up for the list. Jay, thank you so much for this.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I hope it had value.
It added massive value. And my team is here. My wife is there. And everyone's just been listening here. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate your time. And just all of the experience, expertise, wisdom, and decades of just value that you've just given. Like truly, you've made a huge impact. I'm sure you know, but in my life especially. And
that's great. That's great. And do me a favor, please. Send Brian the file, because we usually take anything that I think has merit, and we'll put it out on our site, and we'll put it sometimes even as a podcast and link and refer back to you. And I think this had some good content that might have usability other places. So it's our pleasure to use it other ways for you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jay.
My pleasure. Bye.
Welcome to the stage with 2 Garmin Club X Awards.